A warm welcome, dear children. We are continuing with the lesson how do animals reproduce, and we in the last class we talked about the male reproductive system, and we discussed in detail the male reproductive system, and today we move on to the female reproductive system. So the female reproductive system includes the following organs. Now, like we discussed about the male reproductive system, that there are we talked about the primary organs and we talked about the accessory organs, right? So the primary organs are the organs that produce the gametes. That is what we discussed when we talked about the male reproductive system as well, right? So the primary reproductive organs are a pair of ovaries. So always the primary reproductive organs would be the gonads, right? So in male the gonads are testes. So that is what we discussed. In males the gonads are a pair of testes, and in females the gonads are the ovaries, right? A pair of ovaries. So since we are talking about the female reproductive system, so we talk about the ovaries here as the primary reproductive organ. Then connected to the ovary are ducts. Ducts are small tubes, right? So here connected to the ovary are the fallopian tubes, and then there are accessory reproductive organs. Accessory reproductive organs are those organs that further help in the process of reproduction, right? So that is the uterus, the vagina and the vulva, right? So starting with the first part, that is the ovaries, right? Now we look at the diagram here. That is the structure of the female reproductive system, right? And now if you look at the structure of the female reproductive system, you will see that this part is the ovary, right? Ovary also labeled here, and what do you get to see in this is that there are a pair of ovaries, right? So when we talk about the pair of ovaries, we have the right ovary and the left ovary, right? So two ovaries or a pair of ovaries in the female reproductive system, which is the primary reproductive organ, the gonads or the ovaries. And then if you look at the shape of the ovaries, they are almond shape, right? So somewhat like this, and that is the shape of the almonds as well, right? So the shape of the ovary is almond, right? So what have we done till now? We've talked about the primary reproductive organ. We've said that there are a pair of ovaries, right? The left ovary and the right ovary, and then we discussed the shape of the ovary, that is it is of the shape of an almond. Then we come to the location, right? So it is located close to the lateral cavity. Now this is the cavity here, right? Lateral are the sides, and if you see that it is located close to the lateral cavity on either side of the uterus. Now you see this grey part here, this part is the uterus or the womb. This is the place where after fertilization the baby develops, right? And so if you look at the ovaries, you will see that both the ovaries are on either side of the uterus, right? Ovaries, they serve, now we come to the function, right? First of all, a pair of ovaries. Second, the shape of the ovaries. Third was the location of the ovaries. And now we come to the function of the ovaries, right? So the function of the ovaries, they are the gonads. Number one is to produce the gametes, right? The first function of the ovary is to produce the gametes. The gametes are also known as the sex cells. And in the case of females, the gamete are ova, right? So that is the plural term, ova, and they secrete sex hormones. If you remember, when we talked about the gonads, we said that the gonads, they produce the gamete and they secrete hormones, right? Sex hormones. So here in this case, the female reproductive system, it secretes the hormone that is secreted by the primary reproductive organ, that is the ovary. The hormone that is secreted by the ovary is estrogen. Estrogen is one, and the other hormone secreted is progesterone, right? So two hormones secreted by the ovary, estrogen and progesterone. Now if we talk about the function of the estrogen, this hormone is produced by the ovarian follicles, right? Now if we see a sectional view of the ovary, we will see that there are various chambers that are present, right? So inside these chambers, this particular hormone estrogen is produced, right? And it changes the shape of the uterine wall in the phase of reproduction, right? Other than that, it also helps in the formation of new ovarian follicles. Then comes progesterone, the second hormone. This hormone is secreted by corpus luteum, that is also inside the ovary. We won't go into the detail of the corpus luteum, and it helps in maintaining the pregnancy. That is the important function. And if we talk about a mature ovary, then a mature ovary, it contains large number of ova, right? So these ova also, when you will see is, if we look at the sectional view, we find that the ovas are also found to be in different stages of development, right? So that also undergoes from immature small ovum to a little mature, then it matures more until it is fully matured to be released from the ovary, right? So in the ovary, if we see the sectional view, we will see that we will find the ova in different stages of development, right? And then it ruptures. So the process of the ova being released from the ovary is known as ovulation. So when does ovulation take place? It takes place only when the ovule is mature to be released, right? So from either of the ovaries, and there are two ovaries, at an interval of 28 days, right, the ovary, it releases the ovum, right? So the ovary releases the ovum at an interval of 28 days, and it is done alternately. That means if for the first time the left ovary has released the ovum, right, then in the next time after 28 days the right ovary will release the ovum, right? So that is how it works. Then we come to the next part of the female reproductive system, and that is the fallopian tube, right? So if you see here, this is the ovary, connected to the ovule is this fallopian tube on either side, you can see. And how does it start is, you can see that it has something that resembles a palm, right? And then it goes like this, slightly broader, and the same on the other side as well, right? So this structure is the fallopian tube. The fallopian tube is also known as the oviduct, right? So fallopian tubes are paired tubes. How come are they paired tubes? Because there is one part that is connected to the left side of the ovary, and this is the second part which is connected to the right side of the ovary. They extend up to the ovary of their respective side, the terminal part of the fallopian tube. Now if you look at the terminal part, this is the terminal part of the fallopian tube. You see that it resembles a funnel. So if you look at a funnel, right, a funnel is something like this, right? So if you look at this shape and you look at the shape of the funnel, you will see that this part resembles the shape of the funnel, right? So this funnel shaped part with finger like projections, you see these are the finger like projections. with finger-like projections. These finger-like projections are known as fimbriae, right? They are known as fimbriae. So these finger-like projections are fimbriae, and they lie near the ovary. Now you look at the position. These fimbriae here, this is the fimbriae. They lie near the ovary. And what is the function of the fimbriae? The function of the fimbriae is to pick up the ovum released by the ovary and push it into the fallopian tubes, right? So these fimbriae, they keep on moving and they catch the ovum and they push it into the fallopian tube, right? So that was about the fallopian tube. Next we come to the next part, which is the uterus, right? So this region here is the uterus, also known as the womb. Now this is a pear-shaped structure. So we say it's roughly pear-shaped. You know, if you eat pear is a fruit. So that is the structure, that is the shape of the pear. So uterus also is pear-shaped, highly muscular, right? Made up of muscles, highly muscular. So when they are muscular, they can stretch also, right? It is a hollow structure, right? Hollow means empty from inside, nothing inside. It's just a hollow structure, right? Present in the pelvic region. Present location is the pelvic region. Now what is the pelvic region? Pelvic region is the lower abdomen, right? Lower abdomen region below the stomach is the pelvic region, right? Now it says here, this is also of course located in the pelvic region, and this is between the urinary bladder and the rectum. The urinary bladder is in front, the rectum is behind. So in between that is the uterus present, right? So what happens inside the uterus? The function of the uterus is that, what is the function? Function of the uterus is that the development of the fetus occurs inside the uterus, right? So what happens is the development of the fetus takes place inside the uterus. Fetus can be spelled as F-O-E-T-U-S and also as F-E-T-U-S. Both spellings are correct, right? So that occurs inside the uterus. Because the development of the fetus takes place inside the uterus, so the uterus is also called womb, right? That is why it is also called womb. Now if you look at this narrow structure just below the uterus, this narrow structure connected to the uterus, which is also a part of the uterus, is known as the cervix. Now this cervix leads into the lower region, which is the vagina, right? And the external genitalia of the female reproductive system is known as the vulva, right? This vulva is the external genital organ of the females, right? Now we come to the next part as to what happens when the egg is not fertilized, right? So we know that the egg is released by the ovary. The egg enters inside the fallopian tube, right? After entering inside the fallopian tube, it enters into the uterus, right? Now just in case the male gamete is not able to reach and fertilize this particular ovum, then what happens to the egg which is not fertilized? Now if the egg is not fertilized, it lives for 1 day and then is expelled out, right? So it lives inside for 1 day and then it is expelled out. Now this sets in the motion of the menstrual cycle, right? So then what happens? How is it removed? It is removed through the menstrual cycle, right? Now what is this menstrual cycle? It is a series of cyclic changes, right? Cyclic means in continuation So in continuation it takes place. So that is a cyclic change that takes place, and this change, cyclic means in a period, in a definite period it is repeated, right? So being repeated in a definite period would be the cyclic change. So here, as I told you earlier, 28 days, right? So in 28 days this step is repeated. So it is controlled by changes in the level of estrogen and progesterone hormones. So these two hormones, they play a very, very important role, right? Now talking about the menstrual cycle or menstruation, let's see, it says here that in human females, the fertility period, like where we talked about the puberty, right? We talked about the puberty in in human beings, right? We talked about different ages, at what time puberty is set in, the males, and then in females, and around at an average age of 12 years in females, right? So it starts and up to menopause. That is, there are two stages, we can say. One is the menarche and the other is the menopause, right? So the time when the menstruation starts, right, when the first menstruation in the girl starts after attaining puberty, right, that is known as menarche, right? So that starts at around 10 to 12 years. This is the average age. It can be a little lesser and it can be a little more also, right? So this is the first time when the menstruation starts in the girls, right? That is when they attain puberty, right? And that is how, when actually what happens is, this is the age when the ovum matures and is released from the ovary. Till before that, the ovum is not released from the ovary. Ovum is in the developmental stage inside the ovary till before the females attain puberty, right? The first, menarche, till before that. Once this is achieved, then the ovum is released from the ovary, and it is, it stays in the uterus for a day, and then it is expelled out. How is it expelled out? It is expelled out through the process of menstruation, and this first menstruation in females is at the time of puberty. That is how we know that puberty has been attained, and this is known as menarche, right? And the fertility period, right, it is very limited in females, right? So at around the age between 45 to 50, right, the menstruation stops, right? That is again the average age. It can be less, it can be more. The menstruation stops. Menstruation stops means the ovum is stops getting matured and to be released by the ovary. So now it is not released by the ovary. So when this stage comes, this stage is known as menopause, right? This stage is known as menopause. That means the fertility period in the female is over. Now after this particular age, fertilization in females cannot take place, right? So that is about the menopause and menarche, right? And during the period between puberty and menopause, the female reproductive system, it passes through a regular monthly sequence of events, which is known as menstrual cycle or menstruation, which is, it is repeated at an interval of 28 days, right? And this cyclic change, this is controlled by hormones, and this process, it stops at the time of pregnancy also, right? Okay, now moving on to the next part. Here you can see the process of menstruation, how the menstrual flow takes place. As I told you that it is a cycle which is repeated every 28 days. Once puberty is attained, The menstrual cycle, as I told you, it is controlled by the two hormones secreted by the ovary, that is the estrogen and the progesterone, right? And at an interval of every 28 days, an egg is released from either of the ovary. As I told you, once it will be released by the left ovary, then the second month, that is after 28 days, it will be released by the right ovary. So alternately the ovary releases the eggs, right? Now before the release of the egg, now what is the preparation that is made by the uterus, right? The uterus actually prepares to receive the ovum. Why does it prepare? Because there could be a possibility that it gets fertilized. If it gets fertilized by a sperm, then that would turn into a fetus, right? So the uterus has to prepare itself. So what happens is that the inner wall of the uterus, this is the inner wall of the uterus, you see here, this part is thickened, right? This inner wall of the uterus, this is known as endometrium. Now this particular wall, it becomes thick and it becomes spongy, right? Thick and it becomes spongy also, right? It cannot be hard, because if the fetus is formed over there, then if it is hard, then it will hurt the fetus, right? So it becomes thick and it becomes spongy, and it is full of blood vessels. It becomes full of blood vessels. You know, good supply of blood should be there, so that nutrients are, you know, the wall remains healthy, right? So blood supply is also made. So this becomes thick and spongy, and then now it is ready to receive the fertilized ovum or the egg. That means now the fertilization does not take place over here. Fertilization takes place in this region, because once it is fertilized, it will be settled inside the uterus, right? So now it is ready. Now if the ovum is not fertilized, then what happens? The endometrium erodes, right? Now if you look at this, erode means it sheds off. You can see here, it sheds off or erodes, and an unfertilized ovum along with the eroded part of the uterus, it comes out in the form of bleeding. Why bleeding? Because the lining of the uterus, when it starts eroding, it is lined with blood vessels also, so that also ruptures, right? So what happens? The egg comes out, right? The uterus lining also, the lining of the uterus also is eroded, plus there are blood vessels, so blood also is there. So all this is released, and this is actually known as the menstrual flow, right? This is only known as the menstrual flow, right? So that this happens only when the egg is not fertilized, and this process is known as menstruation, which occurs 14 days after ovulation and usually lasts for about 3 to 5 days, right? After menstruation, the eroded lining of the uterus gets repaired, right? So this gets repaired also on its own. So it gets repaired, and the uterus is again ready for the next month, for after 28 days again to receive the ovum, right? If the ovum does not get fertilized, again this same process is repeated, right? So that happens. Now we move to the next part. We've talked about menarche and menopause already. Now if fertilization has taken place inside the female reproductive organ, right? So where does fertilization take place? The fertilization, it takes place in the oviduct, or also known as the fallopian tube, right? It is here that the fertilization takes place. Now since this is taking place inside the body, so this fertilization is also known as internal fertilization. That means in human, the fertilization is internal. The male gamete, which is produced by the testes, are introduced into the female reproductive organ through the external genitalia of the male, and during this process millions of male gamete are released, right? which enter into the female reproductive system. They reach the part of the fallopian tube where the fertilization takes place. Now once the fertilization takes place, right, it is released, it takes place in the fallopian tubes. You must remember that fertilization takes place in the fallopian tubes of the female reproductive system. Right, now if I draw the female reproductive system, right, this is the region. Right, this is the fallopian tube. This whole structure is the fallopian tube. Right, the sperm would reach here. Actually this is the region ampulla, this is the ampulla region, and this is the region here also. This is the region actually where fertilization takes place. Right, now once the fertilization has taken place, the ovum is fertilized by the sperm, where the fusion of the male and the female nuclei takes place. That is what is fertilization. Right, then what happens to the fertilized egg? Now the fertilized egg comes into the uterus. Right, if this is the ovary that is there, then this part is the uterus. Right, so now the egg release is dropped into the uterus. Now once it is dropped into the uterus, then what happens is that the egg gets implanted in the uterus. Right, so the next stage is that the process of implantation takes place. Right, now what is implantation? Implantation is simply the act of fertilization. With the act of fertilization, a single celled zygote, right, is formed. Right, now the zygote it starts dividing rapidly. Right, and it divides by the process known as mitosis, and it moves slowly into the fallopian tube. So it is still moving into the fallopian tube, and it forms a hollow ball of cells. Right, so a ball of cell is formed which is empty from inside, hollow ball of cells, and by the 7th day of fertilization, the embryo is transformed into a stage known as blastocyst. And now this, after 7 days, this sinks into the uterus. Right, so it gets inside the uterus, and it fixes itself in the uterus. Right, and by the time we've already discussed the inner lining of the uterus, that is the endometrium, it becomes thick to accept the fertilized egg. Right, now this fixing of the embryo is known as implantation. Right, so when the embryo fixes inside the uterus, this is known as implantation. Right, so embryo gets implanted into the uterus. Right, now what happens? The next stage, where once the embryo is implanted in the endometrium, the uterine wall, the female is now called pregnant. So when will the female be called pregnant? Only when the fertilized egg gets implanted into the uterus. Right, once it is implanted into the uterus, the female is said to be pregnant. Right, a disc-shaped structure developed from the embryo and the uterine wall of the mother. This structure is known as the placenta. Right, the moment the implantation takes place, placenta is formed. Right, so here if we see, the structure is drawn over here. Right, and you can see how the changes they take place inside the uterus. Right, you can see the placental septum, the umbilical arteries, etc. And this actually is the structure of the placenta. This is what is formed once the implantation takes place. Right, that is the placenta. So placenta is the physiological connection. What is placenta? It is a connection between the embryo and the uterine wall of the mother. So it is a connection between whom? The embryo, right, and the uterine wall of the mother, because the embryo needs nutrients and also needs to remove all the excretory material, right. It has to remove all the excretory material also, right. So the implantation takes place. Just a second. Okay, right. So that is how the placenta is formed, and this is the reason why it is formed, because the fetus needs nutrients and it also needs to excrete the excretory material. So the fetus part of placenta is formed of villi, which lies embedded in the maternal blood spaces, right. So if we look at the structure of the placenta of the fetus, it will be in the form of a villi like this, and this will be in contact with the blood of the mother. Of course, the blood of the placenta and the blood of the mother never come in contact. It floats in that, right. So by the process of diffusion, the nutrients enter into the placenta of the baby, and the excretory material by the process of diffusion enters into the blood vessel of the mother, right. So now what is the function of the placenta? It provides nutrients here. It provides nutrition and oxygen to the fetus from the mother's blood. Then it removes carbon dioxide and nitrogenous waste from the blood. It produces hormone progesterone for maintaining pregnancy, and these are the functions. Other than that, a cord containing blood vessel connects the placenta with the female, right. So if we see here, the cord with blood vessel connects the placenta to the female, and this cord is known as the umbilical cord. Here you can see, here this is the cord, that is the umbilical cord. Now if we see this diagram, here the cord is very, very clearly shown. This is the umbilical cord here, this brown orange part, this is the umbilical cord, right. Now this is how the baby is connected, right. It is connected here. This is the placenta part. You can see this finger like projections of the placenta, and here would be the blood of the mother. That is how it is connected, right. So that's about the, you can see the muscular wall of the uterus. This whole bag like structure is the uterus, and the outer part is the muscular wall of the uterus. You can see the placenta here, on the umbilical cord, and the fluid, the amniotic fluid, because it cannot, the baby cannot be put in a hard bag or something, right. So the fluid, it protects from all pressures and all kinds of things, right. And this is the cervix region, through the passage through which at the time of parturition means the birth, right, the baby is released. It moves out from this part, right. So the birth is known as parturition. The gestation period, that means for how long does the baby stay inside the uterus for its development, is around 280 days, right. So what is the gestation period? The gestation period is 280 days. Also it could be said to be 40 weeks, and in other words we also say 9 months, right. So the gestation period, a female is pregnant for a period of 9 months or 280 days. That is the time period where the baby gets fully developed to be released from the womb of the female, the mother, right. Of course, if there are certain other issues or problems, then in that case the delivery takes place early also, but this is the normal thing. Okay, now we come to the reproductive health, a very, very important part. It says here, the reproductive health according to the World Health Organization, WHO. The reproductive health means a total well-being in all aspects of reproduction. That is, total well-being of the physical parts, physically, that means health-wise, emotionally, mentally, social and behavioral. That means how when we talk about reproductive health, right, it is not that only to be healthy physically. You need to be healthy emotionally, you need to be healthy socially. That means related to this, how do you react, if you talk about reproduction, then related to reproduction, how do you react in the society, right? And you've heard of many cases where the people rape, right? So that means you are socially not healthy, then only such things happen, right? So socially healthy and behavioral wise also, right? So who has prepared the following guidelines about the knowledge of reproduction and reproductive health? And it is the moral right of every human being to know this, right? Now what is the moral right? Overpopulation, its ill effects and need to control it. So overpopulation is one problem. What are the ill effects of overpopulation and why it should be controlled? Then knowledge of reproductive organs, right, and sexually transmitted disease. As of now, you have a good knowledge of the reproductive organs as you've studied that. And now we will talk about the sexually transmitted diseases. Sex education and awareness about reproduction. So you are aware about reproduction, you know when pregnancy can take place, right? And sex education is another thing we all need to know. You all need to know. Then what are the birth control devices? Everybody should have a good knowledge of all the birth control devices. Then care of mother and child, and prevention of sex abuse and sex related crimes. So when we are aware of all such things, then we can take a little step in the prevention of sex abuse and sex related crimes, right? We move on to the next part, that is family planning. As we've already discussed just now, we talked about overpopulation and its ill effects. So how to curb that? By family planning. So it says here population explosion. When we say population explosion, then we also mean overpopulation. Population is increasing. Now this is a very, very serious concern, right? India's population has already crossed 12 billion mark, and if this trend continues, trend continues, then what will happen? There will be a crisis of food. Now when there will be crisis of food, people will remain hungry, there will be famines, poor health, shortage of shelter and everything. So even the medical care would also become less. So these would be the problems. So keeping this in mind, family planning program is being run by the government to create awareness, right? So that everybody in the family, if the family is small, will get proper nutrition, proper food, space to live, medical care, education, housing facility, everybody will enjoy. Otherwise, if a family is overpopulated with so many, then there's so many difficulties about proper food, staying in a small house all clubbed up together, then sanitation problem, then medical health problem, so many other things, and then the parents are not able to educate the children because of shortage of money. So to avoid all these things, family planning measures are taken. So the first is to avoid unwanted birth, right? So it has to be planned, not that every year one baby is being born, right? To have proper time gap between two pregnancies. Between two children, the time gap should be proper so that the mother also regains her health, right? To limit the number of children in the family, limited number of children, and to maintain balance between home economy and the size of the family. If the size of the family is too large, then the economy also is less money. Okay, so methods of family planning. So we move on to the next part. We'll quickly go through this methods of family planning, and this, everybody should know this. Education, that is the first method of family planning, is education. People needs to be educated. We are studying, but there are people in the villages, etc., who are not aware of this. They don't know why should the family be small. They think more children means more earning hands, right? So they need to be educated about having a big family. What are the problems that they might face? So it is most effective method to make the people aware of the advantages of small family and disadvantages of having large family. So masses should be educated in groups, right? The general people about the various ways of fertility control. So then, to limit the family, how can we do that? So what are the control measures? So contraception. Now this is avoidance of pregnancy by preventing fertilization of the ovum. Now how can you avoid the fertilization of the ovum? So that method is known as contraception. So there are various techniques to avoid the fertilization of ovum, right? So let's see. First is the withdrawal technique, right? The first one is the withdrawal technique, where the ejaculation of the semen is not done in the female reproductive part. Then there are barrier methods, right? So barriers, they are physical device to prevent the entry of sperm in the female genital tract, right? Now these are available for both males and females, right? So first one is the condom, right? It is used by men only, and it prevents the deposition of semen into the vagina. Then is the diaphragm, which is used. It is a rounded latex cap with coiled spring, and it is used by the females to prevent the entry of the sperm into the uterus. This is fixed in the cervix region of the vagina, of the uterus, right? Third is the intrauterine contraceptive device, which is known as IUCD, right? It is commonly known as loop or copper T, which is inserted in the uterus of the female, right? So these are the barrier methods. Then comes the chemical methods. The chemical methods, these methods, there are some methods which are used either to immobilize the sperms, to stop the movement of sperms in female genital tract, so that they don't reach the ovum, and or prevent the ovulation also, right? So coming to that, we have the spermicides, right? CID, side means to kill. So these are certain chemicals that kill the sperm, right? So these are spermicides, and the application of spermicides can kill the sperms. Then oral contraceptives, OCs, right? Or birth control pills, they are also known as birth control pills. So there are some medicines that are taken, right, by a female. Now these medicines are taken by female, suggested by the doctors. Then comes the next one is the surgical method, right? Surgical methods is sterilization, right? So there are surgical methods in male also, and there are surgical methods in females also, right? So vasectomy is a surgical method in males, and in this method a small incision is made in the inside of the scrotum. So if we move on to the next diagram, here you will see this is a surgical method, and here an incision is made in the side of the scrotum. Here you can see this is the scrotum region. This is the scrotum region, and an incision is made here, and a portion of the vas deferens is removed, and both the cut ends are ligated. You see, they are tied. Both the cut ends are tied. This prevents the ovulated egg to enter into the uterus, right? Now this prevents the sperm to move into the urethra. So obviously when the sperms are released from here, it would come here and it would stop. So it will not enter the urethra of the female. Hence the semen of a vasectomized male does not contain sperm, right? So other things are there. The secretions of the seminal vesicles, the prostate glands, all that will be released, but the sperm will be stopped over here. Then comes tubectomy. Tubectomy is a surgical method in females, right? Here the tubal ligation, it is a tubal ligation, and it is adopted only in females. You see here how the fallopian tube, you will see how the fallopian tube gets ligated, cut and ligated, right? So again here, once it is done, so the ovum would come till here and then it would stop, right? So we can say the fertilization does not take place. This prevents the ovulated egg to enter into the uterus. Now both tubectomy and vasectomy are known as methods of sterilization, and they do not affect the normal sexual life. Then comes the last one, that is the medical termination of pregnancy, that is to get rid of unwanted pregnancy, which we say as abortion. This is a legal process and it cannot be practiced as such, and this is done by doctors only, right? And the last part is the sexually transmitted diseases, right? So the diseases that are sexually transmitted. So these the sexually transmitted diseases are also known as STDs. They are spread by sexual contact with an infected person. Now these are also called venereal disease, right? Venereal disease. These are caused by bacteria, virus, protozoa. And let's see what are the common sexually transmitted disease. The first one is gonorrhea, right? This is a disease which is caused by a bacteria, Neisseria gonorrhoeae, mainly in females. So this is mainly in females. Symptoms are some sensations in the urethra and painful urination. The rectum gets inflated, is inflammation in the rectum, inflammation in the throat, and even the eyes. It may also occur in males, causing skin lesions and urethritis, right? Some diseases in the skin. The next one is syphilis. It is caused again by a bacterium, Treponema pallidum. Symptoms are again inflammation of the mucous membrane of the genital tract. So that membrane gets inflamed. Inflamed means swelling. Rectum, buccal cavity, that is the mouth, lesions on the skin, and infection occurs by sexual contact and rarely through body contact or kissing, right? Like by touching someone or by kissing, this disease is not spread. It can be cured effectively by antibiotics. Then comes the genital herpes, right? Herpes are of different types, right? So herpes in the genital region is genital herpes caused by a virus called herpes simplex. Now this is incurable. It produces painful blisters on prepuce, glands and penis. That is in the genital organs it produces all these things. Painful blisters in the male and even in the female one. The genital organs of males as well as females. Then is the last one, that is the genital warts, right? Now this disease is caused by human papilloma virus, right? There is no cure for genital warts except laser surgery. And then we come to the most dreadful disease, that is AIDS, acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. Acquired means to get from somewhere, right? Immunodeficiency means the immune system becomes weak, right? Immunodeficiency syndrome. Syndrome is because the immune system becomes weak, the person suffers from various diseases. It could be cough, it could be cold, it could be fever, it could be stomach infection because the immune system is weak. So many problems together is the syndrome, right? So what happens? Because the immune system becomes weak, the person suffers from cold, cough, fever, stomach quite often, and only these things can be treated. This virus cannot be removed, right? So it is a serious human health problem throughout the world. It was first detected in USA 1981, and today around 18 million people in the world are HIV positive. Human immunodeficiency virus, right? So that is the name of HIV. This causative agent of AIDS is known as human immunodeficiency virus. It destroys the human immune system so that the body fails to produce antibodies against infection. So when the body is unable to produce antibodies, then the person gets infected easily. Right? So that's about all for today's class. Complete all the assignments. Prepare your work for the exam. Again in October we'll have another exam, so prepare well. Thank you.